Yeah.
I got some shocking breaking news for you. After defeating Canelo Alvarez, baby, you want baby. I know that. Dmitry Bivol, undefeated champion out of Russia, may not get paid. His payment has been stalled out. Find out why in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Let's jump right into it. Link in the description. The Insider. Dun dun dun. Russian sanctions means it is very difficult to receive the $5 million Canelo payday, says Dmitry Bivol. Now, Dmitry Bivol last Saturday fought Canelo Alvarez, and this was a Dazn pay-per-view. Just to give you guys clarifications, it says Canelo Alvarez versus Dmitry Bivol, purses and salaries. For Bivol's part, the Russian will have a guaranteed purse, so he wasn't going to make anything less of $2 million, and a 30% of pay-per-view sales. That's what was being reported prior to. So it leads me, for starters, if this is true, and this was before the fight, if he was slated to get $2 million guarantee and 30% is dangerously close to half. How is he only owed $5 million? So the pay-per-view, in my view, must have flopped, right? The pay-per-view must have flopped, because 30% of, let's say the pay-per-view generated, so the pay-per-view was about $60 if you are already a Dazn member, right? So if you're a Dazn member, the pay-per-view was $59.99, right? I'm just gonna make up numbers. Let's say existing members, 250,000 people bought that particular pay-per-view. That would be $15 million, right? And that's at the discounted price point. So let's say you're a Canelo fan and a diehard, and you wanted to see this Bivol fight, and you wanted to see Canelo in action, and you had to pay the regular $70 a pop. So 70 if you were new, you didn't have the existing Dazn service, and let's say at $70 a pop, 300,000 buys, right? That would be 21 million. That would be 21 million. So this is quick math. 21 plus 15, the existing Dazn subscribers, that's saying he did like roughly 500, 600,000. Then that would be, the fight generated $36 million. So using this rough math, Dmitry Bivol, I'm not the smartest brother in the world, but half of 36 is 18, right? So if he's only getting 5 million, this pay-per-view must have been atrocious. That's just a sidebar. I'm going to definitely get into the rest of it. So let's say it generated $40 million using rough math, and that's basically suggesting between existing Dazn customers and new Dazn customers, it sold 500, 600,000, right? Then that means that they would have roughly $36 to $40 million. And if you have $40 million and Bivol is getting 30%, that means he would get $12 million in terms of back end money. So his paycheck would be looking at closer to 12 plus 2, 14, $15 million, right? So to me, this stipulates, and I know this is not why you guys initially clicked on the video, but it looks like this event was a failure. Ego Stradamus strikes again. You guys see on the screen, February 25th at 4:11 p.m., your boy Ego Stradamus posted this tweet. When Canelo Bivol, this is literally the day the fight was announced, right? At 4:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, February 25th. Your boy Ego Stradamus, aka Boxing Ego, aka Big Money Ego, I posted this tweet. It says Canelo Alvarez is also fighting a Russian fighter in the middle of Russia versus Ukraine conflict. So I'm pretty sure, quote, boxing is not the first thing on everybody's mind in those regions or areas. The chaos and turmoil in that region far outweighs a boxing fight. They are fighting for lives, right? Hashtag ego. So if you watch my content, in or around this time when the fight was announced, I specifically and explicitly told you guys that Canelo fighting a Russian fighter in the middle of Russia invading Ukraine would certainly lead to problems. In fact, I was so confident of that I thought the fight stood a strong chance of even getting blocked or the fight not being sanctioned for a title or these types of things. If you guys recall, famed heavyweight brothers Vitaly and Vladimir Klitschko, legendary heavyweights, mind you, who are from Ukraine and are opposed to the invasion. They said there's nothing here, Russia, go home, boycott, block Canelo, Bivol, all that type of stuff, because there's no way that this should be tolerated during such a political, climate and warfare, basically an invasion. Despite Boxing Ego making that comment and making videos and content, and the Klitschko's making pleas, Dazn pushed through with this fight. Eddie Hearn pushed through with this fight. And they said, we don't care about that. We don't care about what's going on. The fight's still happening. The sanctioning bodies, they said, okay, now it is all in shambles because Barstool Sports president Dave Portnoy did an interview and he said the numbers were horrible and horribly low. That's it, literally a verbatim quote. He said the numbers were horribly low and they had a partnership with Dazn. In addition, Canelo Alvarez lost. Not only losses happen in boxing. It's not that he lost, it's how he lost. He lost where he virtually lost every round. He won 2 rounds and those weren't even super definitive. There are scorecards out there where they believe Bivol won 12-0. So this is a massive setback for Dazn, who's been overpaying Canelo. Another thing Igor Stradamus talked about, and Eddie Hearn, and everything's in shambles because I like the guy, Dmitry Bivol. He can fight, great fighter. He showed that. But even with him beating Canelo, that doesn't automatically skyrocket him to pay-per-view stardom. And that's just the reality. You have to have a certain package, like where you're charismatic personality, the Conor McGregors, Floyd Mayweather. It has to be a sellable package, and American audiences have to embrace you to become a pay-per-view A-lister in the sport. So even with him beating Canelo and beating Canelo bad and beating Canelo up, I still don't think he's a massive star. So Dazn, as I predicted, they pushed through from the fight. I predicted that this would create certain complexities. Fast forward to the future. What does this say? Russian sanctions means it is very difficult to receive the $5 million Canelo payday, says Bivol. So Bivol hasn't even been paid as of me recording this video, right? It says Saul Alvarez conqueror Dmitry Bivol says he is yet to be paid for scoring one of the biggest boxing upsets Saturday in Las Vegas. The money, it hasn't arrived, he told TASS agency in Russia. So he spoke with Russian media. He already had a parade where they welcomed him back. And Bivol, who trains with Yoel Diaz, says he hasn't been paid. He says right now, quote, I think it is very difficult to get paid, before adding that the fight fee hadn't yet arrived. We will still think about how to do it. We didn't think ahead because the situation is changing rapidly. Insiders asked an official at Dazn and Matchroom, the companies involved in broadcasting the event, for a comment regarding Bivol's pay, but did not receive a reply. So Dazn is, not responding to information or basically this article, who are trying to figure out how Dmitry Bivol is going to get paid, right? I mean, this is just sad. Canelo lost. He's the cash cow. He's been getting overpaid. He lost. It's not just losing, as I mentioned, he lost bad. And then now Dmitry Bivol can't get paid. All this could have been avoided if Dazn and Eddie Hearn and the world of boxing listened to Igor Stradamus. I must literally be the greatest that boxing has ever seen when it comes to talking boxing. People say I'm saying these things for views and I'm saying these things for my health or because I'm a Canelo hater. That's fine. But in the future, when it happens and the same thing and the premises that I talked about as far as February, the day the fight was announced, when they start to come back to haunt you, and now Bivol can't get paid, and now you see, oh man, maybe Boxing Ego was telling the truth. And it also shows you that this fight flopped, as I mentioned with the simple math that I did earlier in this video. If he's only getting $5 million and he was already guaranteed $2 million, he's only getting an additional $3 million. And what's worse is, put this in perspective, Dazn is clearly losing money with this fight because, for one, as I mentioned earlier, Barstool Sports admitted that the numbers were super low. But if Bivol was getting 30% and he was the B side, then what is Canelo Alvarez getting as far as the back end pay-per-view proceeds? Because there's no way Canelo's getting less than Bivol when he was the A side. So Dazn's giving up all this back end pay-per-view money, and they didn't even sell any pay-per-views. Now they can't even pay Bivol because of Russian sanctions, because they pushed forth with the fight that really shouldn't have been pushed forward. And then now they look even dumber because Canelo has a loss to that said Russian fighter. You gave Russia a victory, a huge victory at that. I told y'all Canelo versus Bivol fight would reflect badly. Horrible timing, raises concerns due to the tragedy that exists in Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. This is what I posted in February. So it looks like Ego Stradamus strikes again. Now, all of a sudden, you know, no one took heed to anything I was saying, and it's come back to bite them. And to put more salt in the wound, I also said this: Canelo losing to Bivol gave Russia a huge W in the middle of Russia invading Ukraine. Good job, Dazn. So Bivol can't get paid. Their cash cow that they've been overpaying over the course of a couple years. He just lost. And then in addition to all that other stuff, you know, Canelo could have taken a deal with Showtime. I mean, this is a mess and it's all in shambles. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. Checkmate.